We can. All right, guys, it's been a minute. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have two very, very special guests with me. They are the co-founders of True North Coaching. Both are, well, Linda's a published author. Craig is about to be a published author. Very excited about your book that's coming out, Craig. But Linda's got a book called The 7 Things That Keep You Stuck and What to Do About It, which is available now on Amazon and Kindle and all platforms, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Craig has a book, a fiction book coming out called Landing Home, which is essentially what I've gathered so far. It's a journey about alchemy, magic, but it's told in a fictional story.
Yep, it sure is.
Yeah. So can you let us know when that's coming out, or is it still?
Actually, it's printed. It's making its way to the country, so I'm not 100% sure on the actual date it hits the Aussie soil, but yeah.
Yeah, so we can say you're a published author because it's been printed now. So that's
yeah. That's right.
So
Evidence.
So both published authors, and in 2021 they were voted together as Natural Success Coaches of the Year by the whole natural success community. And if that is like, who's the natural success community? It is a bunch of very well-trained, intuitive creators in the world that are applying alchemy and magic to creating amazing results in business and relationships and all kinds of things. And these two here were voted as the best people to guide others on that journey. So that's the reason that I had you both last year as my coaches, and now it's become true to just go all in on Linda. Craig, still love what you teach, so hence you here today. But
I won't take it personally.
Okay, fine.
But thanks for joining me on the show today, because you guys have an amazing story. I love what you teach. I come to all your workshops, and each time, it's like sometimes you hear the same thing, but there's always something new that I'm learning from you guys, even though you might be teaching the same principles. So thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us,
John. Yeah, great to be here.
So in Intrepid Creator. It was in Intrepid Creator. You guys opened up and spoke about your journey when you were building the yoga studio, and how there was, like, from memory, there was this system or way of building business, making money, and what have you. And you guys were like doing that exactly, and it was going well. But then, like, down the track, there were all this chaos that was waiting for you. Can you maybe go into what it felt like to have that kind of certainty of, like, yeah, I'm gonna just do this. This seems good, and the business is rocking. Like, what was that like, going through just that kind of way of doing business back then?
If you were talking about in the lead up to the chaos,
Yeah, no, before you, the chaos was covered, or even there.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I can only speak for me, and you can speak for yourself. But there were obviously, when you feel like you're in the flow of things, and it can really feel like that you're on the right path, and like you've brought the right people into your world, and it's like, oh, I know this is it. For me, there'd been a build-up of many years of different versions of seeing large enterprise and business and leverage in my life, and also leading and inspiring others in a way. And it was like, oh, this is going to be the way. This is, there's someone we brought into our life who's now giving us an introduction to more people who have more experience in this field, and we can take what we've created so far, and we can create a very leveraged business from here. And so it was exciting, and at the same time, also, I knew it was going to be a shit ton of work, which it did become very, very quickly, didn't it? Like, it was, we went from running a studio, we had run a couple before, but we went to 80 hours a week in head down, just doing developmental things and creating material for it, and there was a lot of obligation on us as well. So yeah, anyway, so that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, it was like we heart was in what we were doing. We sort of but we felt we were on the right path. And what we did though was we went quite external on at one point, and like Linda says, bringing people in who we perceived were experts in the field of expanding our business. And using their structures and other connections and that sort of thing to make it happen. And so I just remember feeling a real sense of putting my like relying heavily on how they directed us, what they said was best, and that sort of thing with regard to expanding our business. So I was excited too. That it all looked like, yeah, this is fantastic. It's going to be great. And it was exciting because we could both see the possibilities, but we were kind of being very directed and guided in relation to next steps from others, sort of thing. So.
And we were prepared to put in the work.
Oh yeah.
We knew that it was going to take some getting going, but there was a goal at the end where it would be much more leveraged and that sort of thing. Anyway, so that's sort of that part of the chapter.
And there was evidence that was working, right? I'm assuming, like, you did it and the results were following.
Yeah, well, we had a model that worked, and we believed that they had a model that worked on the, which was further down the track, because they had businesses that they'd worked with or created themselves that looked like a version of what we would do, but in our field, sort of thing. So that was the evidence we were relying upon at that stage.
Yeah. So when was, because I don't think I've heard this part of the story, but when did like alchemy and intuition become a thing that you started searching for? Was it something that you kind of just stumbled across, or was there a conversation you had? Or did you hear your intuition go, we're off?
Well, I definitely heard from my intuition along the way, which was basically, stop, don't go that way, don't do that, like, just stop. I remember at one stage standing there, I needed to go to the bank and cash a check, and there was a voice in my head saying, don't cash the check. And I went and cashed the check. But I didn't know what I was hearing, right? I just knew that there was that voice, and I'm like, don't be stupid, you've got to keep going. We've gone this far, you've got to go do it. And it was a pivotal moment. Not that I could have undone anything at that stage, but still, it was me backing the dysfunction of what was going on. Anyway, we essentially fast forward 12 months, the whole thing blew up like you would not believe, and essentially was a disaster. And anyway, I don't even know what to say about that story other than just imagine everything going really great, and then within a very short period of time, it looks like, holy shit, it's not happening. The people who were supposed to be supporting us weren't supporting us. We were trying to do everything on our own and doing a very poor job. Well, we do a very poor job, like, for people who didn't really know what they were doing. We were doing pretty well. Yeah. However, there was no way we could sustain what was set up. And then the final crux basically was it was. I don't know if we'll get into the full version of the story, but it was very much a this or that scenario where this first option, not very tenable, not something you would love to go through. And that was not a great solution either, as in terms of how it felt, but it was the best of two evils, if you like. So I'm just taking you down a mystery path of things, but essentially everything blew up. And we basically ended up at ground zero, going, like, just imagine what it'd be like if a bomb dropped on your house and you just like, now what? There wasn't actually a physical bomb, by the way, but that's how it felt. It's like, everything is gone. Now what? Where do you start from here? Where do you rebuild from there? So how do we get, Craig had already worked with alchemy before we got together, and I sort of dissuaded him out of that Williams work and the natural.
No way.
Because I was very entrenched in another very well-known global figure who's very rah-rah, dance on the chairs, and well into that work. And I said, come and do that work with me. And we'd followed that, and we tried the hustle and the push and the you know, we had plans, and yeah, so we weren't scared to work because we knew from that orientation that, you know, you have a goal, you set a goal, you get up, you make your move, and you just friggin' go for it. But everything blew up. And essentially, when we were at that point, and I was at that point of, I have no idea what to do with myself. I just don't. I'm lost. Don't know anymore what this world is about. And then an ad came across for William was coming back to Australia for the first time in a long time. And I said to Craig, I think we should go. I think we need to go to Create Your Destiny, because it was his new curriculum. He hadn't done it here yet. And we scraped together as much as we could. We got flights. We had a weird Airbnb scenario. We're catching the bus every day to get there. You know, we did what we had to, didn't we, to get to that damn course and reacquaint ourselves with the structures of alchemy. And you know, from there, you know, it was a growthful process. It was, you know, it felt slow to begin with, but essentially, by sticking to what was true and what the structures in the alchemy structures, we have created a completely different life, haven't
we? Yeah.
I want to go back to the cashing the check thing. Was it because in our, you know, we say intuition? Well, you know, the first thing you learn at that course, Create Your Destiny, William, you know, he says your intuition doesn't speak in plain English. So I'm curious, back then, was it like a loud thing you got, don't do it, don't, or was it just like this
very straightforward, matter-of-fact sentence, don't cash the check?
Yeah, right.
And it was not clouded with anything else, no other thing, just don't cash the check.
Wow. Because I think you know, if I look at people that I've met, particularly when I'm traveling, I get the question all the time. They go, you know, how do I know what's what, right? And I think it's such a fascinating, fascinating is probably the wrong word. It can be a scary journey when you start to hear your intuition speak to you. You go, what on earth? Why would I go that way? This is the way that seems like it's going to take me to what I want. But then, you know, William says some people get tapped on the shoulder. You know, we speak about it as well. But it's I always think it's such it's almost like an ego death. Well, it's not a death to your ego, but you've really got to let go of what you know to embrace that voice when it first comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think in light of what you're saying at the beginning of that, you know, one thing to be aware of is, yes, to ascertain whether something's intuitive versus egoic, it is easier to go for things like symbols, imagination, and all those sorts of things, you know, just making it up, all those sorts of things. But I think each of us has a natural way of communicating with our intuition, even if you've never been trained in the work, because, you know, there's some of us who are, what do you call it, clairvoyant, so it's visual, and I definitely see things in terms of that. And I'm not talking about predicting the future or anything like that. That's not what we're here to do. But there's the clairaudient, clairsentient, as in presence and feelings and all that sorts of things. And I think some people will feel it in their body, or some people will hear it, and some people will see it. And it's knowing where you're coming from with that sort of thing. A lot of the work that I do now, even though I will see and create a picture when I intend to do that, I'll also get words. Or someone can give me something to read on, and I'll just start writing or typing, and it'll just a whole lot of words come through, but they're unfiltered words. It's the same with when you're writing.
Yeah, big time. Mm-hmm. Predominantly words for me. It's but I definitely get mental pictures regularly as well. The moment I start typing, then it's all there. It just comes through. It's having that intention and that focus, and away you go.
Mm. Which is really interesting for me, because I'm not an audio receptive person. If someone talks at me long term, I tune out very, very quickly. But if I'm receiving intuitive,
you're in the game if it's intuitive.
If I'm receiving intuitively, I can go for ages and ages and ages just receiving the words. But to listen to something, and no offense, but I actually don't enjoy podcasts simply because I tune out too much. I'm looking for the visual clues. I'm looking for the, other cues that keep me stimulated and alive. And having said that, I've done podcasting myself, so I know what it's like, but I can't keep my attention. I'm not great with audiobooks. I'm not, so I'm just aware that my audio senses are much more the internal intuitive, or music, like listening to music. I just love having music on while I'm doing something else, and it doesn't interfere with whatever else I'm doing.
Yeah. That's funny you mentioned that about tuning out, because I remember I used to say to my appointment setters when I was in sales, don't book it face to face, because I start looking everywhere. But if I'm on the phone, I can look wherever I want, and I can I can continue to listen. That was always natural for me. But people would always get, like, I remember my ex-girlfriend used to tell me off because I would just someone would be talking, and I would look over here and I could hear what they're saying, and they think that I'm being an asshole or something, but I'm not. Like, I just lose attention, like to the shiny thing. But anyway, it's I think that's great, because you can get so in your head about it when you start to receive those initial messages and look for the right way, what's the wrong way, and then before you know it, your ego's got the wheel.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's just getting your resonance with the work. How do you receive it? How do you get it? And I think my biggest hurdle was because coming from a science background, to all of a sudden be intuitively receiving information, apart from those occasional gut feelings that everybody's had in the past for whatever reason, that it was like freaking me out a little bit. But these days, there is more and more science. I don't think it's actually on the money yet, but there is more and more science backing up the neurology of how we can know things that we don't ordinarily know, and that's comforting. But in the meantime, I can't wait for science to catch up. I've just got to continue to do what I do, because that's the best way for me to serve in the world, is using those skills. And same with everybody else. Develop your resonance, how you do it. If it takes someone with a packet of crayons and drawing pictures on a jot pad, who cares? Right? That's them getting in connection with their intuition. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to that first course with William, and like when you're learning this stuff and you start to apply it. What was do you remember like the first reference point? Because you guys always speak about reference points. It's so important to stack them up. You do a truth circle, you get a yes, and you go do it. And it's like, oh my God, that was incredible. Like, I was scared. I don't know why I got a yes, but I did it. Or you got a no, and then like 2 months down the track, you're like, oh, that's why I didn't go ahead and do that thing. Do you guys remember those early wins or reference points that you had?
Well, I think looking back now on the, from with the benefit of hindsight, we can see things like where Linda got the nudged feeling that we really should probably connect in with William's work and go to CYD. And it wasn't logical. It didn't make any sense. We didn't actually have the money for it after everything that had gone down with the business. We were in no position. But that's often the case. We don't look to make it logical or figure it out. It's just that's what she got. So that's kind of what we did. And then you can see after that the different things. Like once we reconnected with the work and we were reacquainted with the voice of our own intuition, then there'd be other things that would come up along the way, nudges that one significant one was the call you got to call a friend that she hadn't spoken for 27 odd years. And, and the trajectory that took us both on then was, we relocated and so it's just a phone call. I was like, what the hell, what are we going to talk about? We haven't spoken in so long. What could this possibly be about?
No topic of conversation, just call this person.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hi.
So...
in a while, and so but off that it was warmly received. It was like, oh, so glad you called. We're just looking at wanting to put together a team, and we're looking for a person and wondering if you'd be interested. You'd be a perfect fit for this. It was like bang, 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 bang. And so we move. I move into a different, into work as well. It was very suited for my experience at the time. And then everything unfolded in a true direction for us, because now we're taking true action based on our intuitive guidance. And so our lives started to shore up and started to really refine into being, us doing what we really love. And ever since then, that's what we've been doing. We developed our business from where we'd moved to down at Phillip Island, and we haven't looked back since. That's a very abridged version, but our lives now really just reflect everything that we love. So all of the elements in our lives, the people in our lives, our connection and that sort of thing, are all in alignment with our hearts. There's no extraneous stuff, and travel, you name it, it's all aligned. So anything that we spend time on or focus on or whatever, it's time well spent, whether it's painting something or going on a trip somewhere or running a training, whatever it is. It's just like, we know that it's time well spent. So life sort of feels very rich, doesn't it?
Even today, I've been coaching. I've had a busy coaching load today. I've still got a couple of calls to go. But I'm coaching people I love. We went for a swim at the beach in the middle of winter, because we live across the road from a beach right now.
Right.
I had a break. I said to Craig, I'm feeling it for go for a walk. He's like, oh, I'll see you later. I said, well, is it true for you to go for a walk? And he's like, damn it, it's true for me to go for a walk.
I was in the middle of something.
Yeah. And did it become obvious why you went for the walk?
Good for my health. I was very engaged in what I was doing, and it was at the desk and that sort of thing. So all good stuff. But it was just to get up and move the body and take a break from that, and energize and be out in the sun and nature. And it becomes very obvious very quickly. The moment you peel away from the desk and it's like you're out there, it's like, fresh air. We're connecting. So.
I think the other thing is, also, even in the essence of that question, it's like, well, where's the payoff of that? Did you bump into someone? Did you find $1 million lying on the ground? Well, we don't know what the payoff of it actually is, really, other than it was true. So there must be a payoff, whether that was to get some of the fresh air and the sunshine and, just appreciate the beauty of the area or whatever, and just really rejuvenate the body rather than just continue to sit at the desk. Because I could have equally just sat here and done some admin or something, but it wasn't true. It's true to go for a walk. So do that. Everything else will get taken care of.
Yeah, and that's been a big lesson that I've learned from you guys, and something that I have to remind myself constantly. It's like still to this day when I do Truth Circle, it's like, oh yes. What could this be? That's like, stop it, Jordan. Don't go down there. Because even like, you go down there and you still do it, you'll miss. Like I've noticed, you just miss what it's actually about if you do see it on the day. So it's the good old payoffs from the ego. They're a massive distraction. Craig,
essentially we're just like fish, right? Fish are going to go for the bait if it's worth it. If it's not worth it to them, they're not going to go for the bait. So we're just like that. We're sitting there like fish in the water. Is that bait worth it? No. All right, I'm not gonna. I can't rationalize that. Doesn't look good enough. So, but we're looking for the payoff from the get-go when we actually just need to know what's true.
What's true?
Sorry,
No, because that like flows on to what I was going to circle back to. Craig, you mentioned direct action, true direct action for people that aren't trained in this work and maybe wanted to jump into this interview. When you're in your day, are there things that come up for you when you just know, I'm going directly towards my end result? And then are there things that come up where you go, oh, I'm doing that thing again, that takes me off path?
Yeah. I mean, it's practice, and and you become more familiar with how. For me, I'm more familiar with how it feels in my body.
Yep.
When I'm distracting myself, when I'm procrastinating, when I'm getting involved in things that are a result of me being in my resistance in relation to something that's true for me. And so that's how I know it is. I feel a certain way that's very familiar and it's very comfortable. But it's because it's like, you know, that aspect of me that's just trying to keep me in the comfort of my familiarity, sort of thing. And so it feels good, but it doesn't get me where I want to go in life. And so that's whenever I notice that I'm, you know, I might be doing something. It can be anything, because really it doesn't matter what I'm doing. It's where am I coming from in relation to what I'm doing that's important. So that where I'm coming from, that's the orientation on it. So say I was out getting, you know, immersing in photography or whatever, and that takes me some time, like I really get into it and just I can be doing that functionally or dysfunctionally. So when I know, am I doing this because it's just true for me to be doing it at this stage, there's a different resonance to when I'm like, shit, I'll grab the camera and crank out some, you know, go and do some photography, when really what's true for me to do is be writing my book. You know, that's what's true right now. So both true activities align with my heart, but based on where I'm coming from, I can be being dysfunctional or functional in relation to the activity itself. So it's starting to get to know yourself, where you know, what, you know, where am I coming from right now? And you can ask yourself, you know, in any given moment, and you do actually know. It's not like, well, I don't know. It's like, no, if you're mucking around and you say, yeah, all right, where am I coming from right now? You get this immediate sense of mucking around, like I'm, you know, I'm distracting, I'm whatever, and that's a good time to just go, okay, so how's my time better spent right now in a way that really serves my heart and my bigger picture in life? You know, and ask yourself that question, and then go with what's obvious there. It's like, okay. And when you do that, it makes things obvious. It makes things, it doesn't always make it easy to switch gears and you focus and proceed, but you do have a choice then, and it is an obvious one. It's like, right, so do I want to spend the next couple of hours mucking around, or do I want to just re-engage with what's true for me right now? Away you go.
Yeah. Linda, do you have like a similar thing, or is it different for you when you know I'm going directly for what I want as opposed to being in resistance?
I think, yeah, again, it comes down to knowing yourself. Like we've all got our own things, and like you were saying, it's not necessarily what you're doing, it's where you're coming from. So for me, let me use my painting as an example. If I'm painting from the orientation of I need to make this look good, I'm trying to achieve a painting, I want to get recognition or acknowledgement for the painting, I'm definitely in the wrong orientation. And also that'll probably be, you know, a rather shit painting by the time I finish it from that orientation. I've painted because that's on my choices, that's on my list of things that are true for me to do, but I haven't done it from the heart space. I haven't received my painting and received the experience of just letting the painting unfold in front of me. And there's a very different way of doing it, and one is joyful and one is stressful.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes there's hard work involved, like the business side of things and stuff like that, but it's not it's not, I don't know, pushy, it's not forceful.
That's something that you both have really helped me with. Drop the force, and they're like, I've got to get after this. And it still, you know, still comes up now, but I'm about much quicker to step out. If we go back to, you know, you make that call, Craig, you find that job, Linda, you go to work, things start to come together, you relocate. Was there like key resistances to like continuing with it? Was there things coming up where you're like, oh God, this is getting a bit too far out of what's normal here? Like, where's this going?
Well, I think one of the lucky things that happened, and I say that in inverted commas, is that pretty much as soon as we moved, COVID happened in full force in Victoria, and the lockdowns and all that sort of stuff. So there was this essence everywhere of unknown, uncertainty, you know, just like, who knows, are we all going to still be alive in a year's time, let alone are we going to have money, are we going to have, you know, is it what's going to happen. There's all this sort of unknown, and I don't know where you were in that or where everybody else was in it, but there was a degree, especially in March, April, May of 2020, where everyone's just like, holy shit, right? So I think in that essence, what we were able to embrace was just learning, well, not learning, but putting what we had learned into action, which was the hang with the tension, because we don't know what's coming. We don't know what's going to happen next. And so what was really cool for me particularly, and I don't know if you had a similar experience, but it was just, what did you have left? Learning to lean into your intuition and start to allow that to inform you even more. Because nobody had any answers. Everybody thought they had answers. They certainly had opinions, but no one really knew what was going on. I was very aware of nobody's got any freaking idea what's going on here right now. So what do I get about this? You know, what is it that I understand is going on? And it even gave us, like, intuition gave us the day to move back to Queensland from Victoria, the exact day. And like and then I was given it, I did a bit of an intuitive technique on New Year's Eve that year, got given the date of the 12th of April. So it's a few months out, right? And we went through like a hot knife through butter with our daughter in tow, because she had, in the meantime, broken up with her man and had decided to come back to Queensland. And then as soon as we went back, it's like everything shut down. The borders just, no one's getting through anywhere. It was like we glided through. We didn't have any stops, interruptions. So it's like the borders opened up. We went through, borders closed down on the way back, didn't they? And then we found an amazing place to live and all sorts of things where there's a rental crisis.
The state where all our kids live as well now. You know, so that access to our kids and a beautiful place to live. But yeah, it was.
That's such a powerful stake in the ground. Everyone's got an opinion. There's all this stuff to do. And then it's like, okay, put that over here. And I'm just going to make up, well, you know, so before I say that, for those of you that don't know, haven't been trained in intuition, part of the thing you do when you use these techniques is you imagine and you make up what you're getting. And when you've got a lot of like psych tension in the air around it, like it's, and it was still fresh, right? You got, it was still relatively fresh. I mean, that's very, you got to hold yourself there and go, all right, I'm just going to apply.
Well, we're still in the middle of it because it was just New Year's Eve on 2021. Like, we were about to move into 2021. So we were still well in the middle of COVID. There was still a lot of shit to go down yet. And did the spirit guidance, and it said, 12th of April, off you go. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Let's prepare. And we did, and we followed it, and it paid off.
So with that, so you're taking these actions, and you've got these beautiful synchronicities lining up. Talk to us about how business started to change, particularly how you approached business. So you embraced it for work and everything, but what did you notice shift from how you used to run your business to when you were embracing this orientation?
Well, I think, like I was talking about the painting before, my way of doing business used to be about achieving. I have to achieve business, and there's milestones and there's KPIs and there's things to hit targets on. And also dysfunctionally, I wasn't a great leader because I also had to out-achieve everybody in my team, which is not how a leader should work, right? It's not very functional. You need your team to be better than you at all the things that they're good at, and you just orchestrate it and direct it, right? So that has been a revelation for me get-go from doing this work in this way. That's the first thing I would say. What about you?
Yeah, I think thing that I've noticed, because I haven't been in business since I was an electrician many years ago, but what I've noticed about our business and it coming together was that every step of the way was very guided, very intuitive. There was a lot of unknown. It was we were leaning in constantly to new ideas. Let's do this, and we'd have these inspirations and we'd just go with it, and people would get a lot out of it, and then we'd do it again and they get a lot out of that. So there was a lot of, we were very willing to be with the discomfort of the unknown. But that allowed us also to be in a space where we could continually receive our intuitive steps, sort of thing. And we did that many times over as the business grew. And because we were running with our intuitive steps, it never let us down, and the business just continued to sort of unfold out of itself. And it was more of a magical experience. It was like we were getting out of the way and no longer, forcing and controlling what needed to happen, but rather we were receiving what needed to happen and putting it into action, putting it out there. And there's a level of like uncertainty about that, I can tell you, in an ongoing way. But over that period of the uncertainty, you start to form a new relationship with the tension that comes up. You start to see how it serves you really well, and it serves others really well when you're willing to be with tension and let that bring forth information, that can really guide you well. So,
and I think for me, as you're talking about that, as those things unfold, in the past and even at the beginning of working in this way, I would get very emotionally involved with it and be like, oh, what does this mean? If I have to do this, what's it going to mean? And how am I going to create that? And what's it going to mean about me if I don't create it? Or if we got an intuitive nudge to take something that was very successful and take it out and say, no, we're not doing that anymore, which happened a couple of times as well. It's like, oh, this is successful. What are we doing? Why are we getting rid of that? But again, if you're either all in with your intuition or you're not, and if you're not, and you're doing a half, you're gonna get yourself burnt. There's gonna be consequences to that. So if you're all in, whatever comes up, it's like, well, that's what we're doing. And what I've learned, obviously through more and more references of how intuition really doesn't let you down. It's you that let yourself down when you don't follow it or you don't even ask for it in the first place. That's a really big thing. So I've learned to get less emotional with those things. Occasionally my ego will still, like any other human being, will still try to ramp up and argue against or argue for this way or that way. But the fact of the matter is that once you get it, it's like getting the orders from the boss. Just that's it. That's what we're doing now, or that's what we're not doing now. And I don't know why, but I don't need to know why. People will ask me why, and I often say, I don't know. And they look at me like, it's your business. You should know why. It's like, I don't know. I don't know why. It's just like, don't catch the damn check. Just don't.
Yeah.
just follow what you get.
It's so funny. I've been saying that to people when I end up in random towns on my travels at the moment. They go, why are you in Getafe in Spain? No Australians or Americans come here. And I say, you ask me in a few days, I might be able to tell you. And we always have a laugh about it. And I'm just honest with them. I go, I do an intuitive process and I got told to come here and just going with it. They go, God, that's, and it's interesting. I always used to think people are going to think I'm a wacko, but everyone's like, that's kind of cool. I wish I could do that.
That's right. Yeah. Actually, where you think you're going to be called out as a weirdo, they actually are quite admiring you and going, I wish I could do that, right?
Yeah. It's incredible the chatter that the ego throws up. With money at that time, and you're using this process, were the money stresses still there? And if they were, how did you guys neutralize that, that familiar psych tension that everyone knows when the finances are there? Because that's the bane of the business owner's existence. How do I get non-emotional about money?
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want to answer first?
Well, I mean, initially, it became about structure, but initially, for me personally, it was about identifying what I was saying no to in my life and hadn't even really acknowledged that, but when I got to that, we moved and we got to that point where it's like, man, this is all not looking real good. This is back, in that when we initially moved down south, down Phillip Island. And when it was looking pretty grim, it was like, well, this work, that we teach, that we weren't really teaching it that much at that
Not
stage.
that much, no. We're doing a bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but this work that we, we're about, it needs to work. So if it's going to work, it's going to need to work now. And so we just agreed that let's just ride this thing to the ground if we have to, but to find out whether it actually does work or not, so that if it doesn't, we can just move on and stop mucking around with this stuff that doesn't work. And so we both really committed to that. And in that moment, I just asked myself, not seeing, what am I not saying? What am I saying no to in my life that's having me avoid my financial abundance, my flow? And it was like, well, you got experience in this particular field in the disabilities area, and you've been saying no to that for years because you used to find it really stressful, the particular field that I work in. And so, like, well, bugger that, no more no. So I checked out some ads, and it's like within a week I had this new job that was less than it was like really just like exactly in the field that I had the most experience in, and it was spot on. And but the difference was that now I was saying yes, but I was saying yes to this new job, but I was also at that time saying yes to my truth. So I was taking the job in support of what I was looking to create, and we were looking to create. And so then the money started to flow, and that was enough just to, with both of us, it was enough for us to start to really inject our heart and soul into building our business, sort of thing. And so over the next probably just over a year, it started all come together, and it got to that point where we couldn't both have our jobs and our business, because the business was demanding too much. It was thriving. So it was an easy and obvious choice to make, but it wasn't, for me, it wasn't me running away anymore and from another job. It was like, that's served me really well, and I'm really grateful. It was a fantastic experience, and now it's time to step more into the business that we've created. So
yeah, but I think the big key point in that whole story was the moment we decided that we're all in. We're all in on the alchemy, and I think the words you used were, I'm going to ride this flaming ball of shit to the ground if I have to. And I said, move over, I'm coming on as well. So we did it. And we, as you said, we went to work, we came home, we'd like quickly change or stuff something in our faces and sit down and start doing coaching calls or Heart's True reading calls or run a class, or and we just built the energy and the love and the passion for what we were doing. And then by the end, it was just like, it's just obvious. Now it's time to step off this work and just full-time into the business. And from that point forward, we've never looked back. And I've broken a cycle that I've had for up to that point 25 years of boom and bust, boom and bust, boom and bust. That's what I did through business the whole time. And here we are, 7 years, no, not quite 7 years later since that whole thing, but 4 years later, and we're not doing that anymore. We just don't play the game of boom and bust. It's just constant guided evolution. And
so that was that facet. But what soon came in after that, we developed a structure that we use to bring ourselves through and beyond our credit card debt. Was kind of one of those really debilitating things for us. It's just like, man, and we couldn't seem to break it. It's like we both had our kind of level that our credit cards would continually climb to. If we paid them down, they'd be bang back up again. It's like, oh, well, I thought we were good. So we put together a new structure, and we stuck to that structure. And what we noticed was that that's another thing that changed financially for us, was this 10-15 year cycle of not being able to break through this repetitive thing with our finances. We could, and we did, and that's another thing we didn't look back on either, ever since we started using this money river structure. And it's because that structure is completely aligned with natural forces and principles that we teach. And it's a structure designed, obviously, for for money, but particularly what it does is allows you to not need to be emotional when it comes to money, because when we're emotional around money, that's when we experience all this wacky stuff that's not what we want. And when we can let go of the emotion and just work with money in a structural way as the energy that it is, we can start to see it flow naturally like it wants to, you know. It's great.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, there's so much I took from that. But the big thing that stood out for me is that you just went in all on your truth. You became internally referenced. You hung with, you didn't ignore it. It's there, the money problems, but you put the power, the attention on the truth. And this start with structure too. It wasn't like, you know, that a big thing that you see people just kind of stuff the money problems away. I don't want to look at it. Don't want to look at it. I did that for a long time till I did your course. And for those of you that are wondering what the money river is, like, I just want to attest to it. It is such a simple, everyone can do it. You just need to put a bit of time in with your laptop, sit down and do the numbers, but it really does work. But yeah, going from that, what do you think? And what do I do in business and that? And just the full circle to going, all right, what's my truth? And everything else will be figured out. I mean, that's such a powerful full circle there to change.
Absolutely. I think some people get hung up on that, you know, that statement, follow your bliss, everything will get taken care of. And what they interpret that to mean is do all the things that feel good, do the things you love to do in terms of they feel good, and put your head in the sand about everything else, like the money or the this and the that. That's actually just the recipe for disaster. So that's where the structure that you're talking about, whether it's a money river for yourself, for your business, whatever, that's taking care of the practicalities of life, because money is going to flow where it's organized and appreciated. And you don't have to stand there and appreciate your money every day. But if you're organizing it and it has a flow to it in terms of where it goes and what it does and how you appreciate it's being used, guess what? You're going to get more of it. It naturally flows in. And then, you know, you can get on with all the things that are true for you, that do bring you that bliss, joy, passion, and that true side of you out in the fullness. So practicalities are getting taken care of in responsible ways, and the resources show up in abundance to help back that up.
So I'm aware of time, so I've got one last question for you guys. So let's say someone is gone, oh, wow, that was a very powerful story, very powerful teachings. I am where Linda and Craig are all those years ago right now. And it's a shitstorm with my money, and business is blown up, or business isn't going well. And I just don't know what to do. I've tried personal development. It doesn't, like, I'm fed up with it. What would you say to them in terms of, and I'm purposely going to ask this, what would you say to them in overcoming that would help them overcome what's going on?
Look at me first.
Well, I mean, I know it's obvious to me. It's if put it this way, if I were in that person's shoes, then I would look us up and go, guys, give us a bit of lowdown here, because I know what you're saying is what's something they can do straight away, you know, and that's it's because it's such a big sort of undertaking to come back to your truth, sort of thing. Like it's there's more to it than just any one thing. But I think where I would start is appreciate that you have a unique essence to you that seeks expression through you in your life and in the world. And from one person to the next, it's going to be different. And so the first port of call is when you realize, okay, so there's more to me, and there's something in me that wants to be expressed, you know, and be experienced. What could that be? So get curious about that for a start, because I think then you start to discover things that are true for you, and then you have a point of reference, like you have something that you can anchor into and start to take action in favor of. But I think for most people, they have no clue about what's really true, what's really in their heart. And therefore, it's like having, you want to go somewhere, but you don't know what the destination is. Well, how are you going to get there? You know, you've got to know, you know, what is that destination? And so that's what I'd say is, if you know, not orientationally, but for your own clarity and awareness, what's that or those things for me?
And don't even worry about the shitstorm.
Well, the interesting thing is, no, it's be clear on the shitstorm. Like, stop denying it. Look at it and acknowledge that that's the truth, right? That's the truth of your current reality. Is, hey, I got this shitstorm here, but appreciate that. Hey, I created that. Look at me. I'm a powerful creator, which is very true. And acknowledge, see it for that. That means I'm a creator that can also use my natural creative ability over here on the things that now that I know that are true for me. So, you know, it's a change in focus from continually putting my energy into the shitstorm and building more shitstorm to bringing my energy and focus to what's true for me that I'm now starting to get clear on, you know. So the more we focus on the shitstorm, we just create more versions of the same thing. And we feel like it's happening to us, but it's not. It's us. We're powerful and we create it.
Yes. And I think the thing is, you know, I think it was a good answer to say, come and look us up and come and do some of our stuff. And I know that sounds like a ridiculous thing to say and very self-promotory, but the fact of the matter is that the way that you're neurologically wired as a human being, no matter how great this planet is, no matter how great your life is, the first thing your body does the minute you wake up in the morning is to assess how safe you are. What's my state of survival? The first thing in your neurology is what's wrong. That's the first thing it looks for. And so we're orientated and programmed, and not because someone programmed us or anything, society, nothing. It's in your neurology. Because when we were crawling around in the dirt as you know, first humans and all that sort of stuff, we needed to know what was wrong. Is there a saber-toothed tiger here? It's about to eat me or whatever. We don't have that anymore, but the neurology is still there. And so we think that if we take care of all of our problems, then we'll be able to look for something better. We'll be able to build a better life, have a better spouse, have a better house, all these things. But it's not the case. We can't come at creating a life from problem-solving orientation. All that does is it's like playing whack-a-mole, just like you were saying, just creates more of it. So you get rid of one problem, you create another one, you know, and you're constantly just chasing these problems from one state to another. So understanding what is true for you. I didn't know that I loved painting until it was actually an intuitive reading. I had no idea, but it's a big part of what I love to do and express. So, and when I focus on my painting, guess what happens? A lot of problems get solved in the background because either a great idea drops in while I've got a paintbrush in my hand, or, you know, I've just been able to relax a little bit more. So there's been new connections made. It's like, that wasn't a problem at all. I was just looking at it from the wrong angle. You know, all these things that the masters learned how to do hundreds and thousands of years, you know, in the human history. That's all they did. They did things differently. They didn't problem solve, but they had things that were important to them to focus on as well. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about alchemy is it's one thing to say we use alchemy to create gold, but you actually need to know what your gold is. If you don't know what your gold is, then what are you going for? We think we're creating gold because it'll give us money, so then we'll be able to buy our way out of our problems and then maybe look at it. That's not what alchemy is. Alchemy is you being the fullest expression of who you really are and what you came here to be, do, have, experience. That's your gold. You got to know what it is.
What an answer. Amazing. Yeah, so good. So on the back of what you said, Craig, where can people find you guys if they do want to look you up?
There you go. That's a quick question.
You just had to ask me to ask a question. No, kidding.
So look us up at truenorthaligned.com. Or email us at hello@truenorthaligned.com.
Yep, all one word, no hyphens or anything.
No.
We are on Instagram, True North Aligned, at true_north. No, that's all one word, isn't it?
Underscores.
Couple of underscores. Anyway, We've
I'll
got,
link it.
you'll have
I'll
the
link
handles.
it.
I'll
Yeah,
give you the handles.
I'll link it all up.
Facebook as well.
Is the Money River it's available now as a product, right?
Yeah, it's available as a product. Yeah, and it's got tutorials and everything. All, you know, it can be self-directed, so you don't even really have to turn up and do our stuff. But we have a fun time when we do it. So
yeah, it's a cracker of a time. I'll link it all up, and I personally want to acknowledge you guys of how much your coaching has helped me over the last 18 months, nearly 2 years. I mean, just a complete 360 in how I'm showing up in the world, what I'm creating, what I know about myself, what I don't know about myself, and how exciting that is. It's fantastic. So if you guys are looking for coaches or you're wanting guidance in creating a life that you love, look no further. These guys are amazing. So I'm going to wrap it up there, guys, but thank you for joining me on the show today.
yeah, it's been fun.